Hello everybody, James here, Storytime with Dutch Mantell, episode 141. Dutch, you want to know why I'm in a different room talking to you on AirPods?
Yes, you do look a lot different today than what you ordinarily look. What's the story?
You described me as a bothered man. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, a very bothered man today. Folks, I tuned in today and James came in with his t-shirt on and the piano in the background, but there's a reason for it, and James is going to tell us right now.
Yeah. Oh, you know the piano was free. I didn't tell you this. So
No.
it was just on Facebook Marketplace. Old pianos, right, are a dime a dozen. Like, you just get rid of them for free.
Yeah,
Like, you can get so many free. All you have to do is pay for the delivery. It's great. So we just got one. I've never played a song on it. It's just decoration.
but you can play the piano.
At one point I could.
Oh, okay.
Tickle them ivories on the Joanna a little bit.
Well, let me ask you, what kind of shape is that piano in?
A little banged up, a little beaten up, but do you know what?
Is it in
Free.
tune?
It was free. No, that's the one thing I do need to do. I've got to tune it as well. Well, somewhat. I have to get a tuning man to tune it. But
You know,
yeah,
3 has always been in my price range.
it was £100 to deliver it, about £100 to tune it, and
How much is 100 quid in US dollars?
$120, something like that.
Okay.
That's about it. Anyway, for the Storytime with Dutch Mantell show, James, I am now going to talk for a couple of minutes. Risk, right? So I've had to switch internet providers, right? Because and this is a UK thing. So for like 15% of you who watch this from the UK, this is for you, and this is for Brisk, who suck ass. I switched internet providers from Virgin, which I've never had a problem with, but the problem is that their upload speeds don't match their download speeds. It's asynchronous. I need what is called synchronous internet, which means that I get the upload speeds the same as download speeds, because we deal with a lot of video over here, not only but Stevie and Dutch and WSI and Listmania and everything else that's coming up or happening already. So contacted Brisk. They turned up the next day to install the internet, right? This was on a Wednesday afternoon. They turned up on a Thursday morning to install it. And then the guy had, a couple of hours installed it and went, yeah, that seems fine. I've done all the tests, it's fine. I then tried to switch stuff over on a Friday. The internet isn't working. I won't bore you to tears with what's wrong with it, but the PON, something to do with the PON light, which means that some infrastructure outside of the house has gone wrong. Like something hardwired is disconnected, right? So I called them on Thursday, called them on Friday, called them on Saturday, called them on Sunday, called them on Monday, and then I called them on Tuesday morning, including sending several emails as well. And of course, it all gets farmed out to India where they can't understand what you're saying. And then I can understand what they're saying half the time as well, because the connection's terrible. And then they go, yeah, we'll get an engineer around. I'll call you back in 1 hour to let you know when the engineer's coming around. They don't call back. This happened for 5 days straight until this morning, which is a Tuesday as we're recording this, where I just put it to the cancellation team. So I tried to cancel, and obviously someone more local answered, because they always do that. When you want to cancel, you'll get someone local to talk to you. And they said, yeah, we can see from all the times you've called, and for all the times you called and they said you would send you an engineer out, they absolutely did nothing. They actioned nothing. So they just gave me the runaround for 4 days straight. And now these supposed cancellation team people that would absolutely sort it out for me haven't called me back either to send an engineer around. That was definitely going to happen today. So F you, Brisk. Everybody out there, do not go with them. They are the absolute worst company I've ever dealt with in my entire life. And that probably includes Enron.
What is their name again?
It's like BRSK, but I think you pronounce it Brisk. Anyway, so if you're thinking of switching internet providers, they're really aggressively touting for business at the moment around here. Not just in Manchester, Cheshire area where I live, but everywhere. They've got people knocking on doors, being proper aggressive, trying to give you the hard sell. Don't fall for it. Stick with who you've got, because they are the worst internet provider in the entire world when something goes wrong. So there you go. That's my piece, Dutch. So I've got to record it through my data on my phone, which is why
People, pay attention, because James is not leading you wrong on this. Do not do business with, what's her name, Brisk?
Brisk, yeah. Don't bother. Stick with Virgin or Sky or something. I don't know.
If I come for the UK for anything, I won't do business with them. I pay attention to you.
Right. More specifically, how are you, man? You doing okay?
I'm doing a lot better. I am. I'm going to I'm trying to take a little bit of medication this morning.
You're draining it out of a pine cone.
Yeah.
What are you doing? A well-medicated Dutch now fist
got
or what? Does any of those pills go in spare, Dutch? You know where to send them.
I got them.
Yeah, you got my address.
I do. So what? I think we got a good show today. I really do.
If my 4G stays on, we've got a good show.
I'm going to lower the hammer on several people today.
Yes.
I don't usually do that, but it comes sometimes that that I just need to express myself, and because I think that's what people listen for. So I'll leave it up to you to pick the topics and the subjects, and we can start the show right now.
Okay then. So main story of actually, unfortunately, last week. So this came out it's always the way. Something happens like 2 hours after we record. Anyway, Goldberg was on Ariel Helwani's show, pissed and moaned about his retirement match. Now, we watched it last week. Just as a recap, Dutch, what do you think of his performance in the retirement match as 58 years old and wrapped with injuries?
Well, I thought his performance was okay. It wasn't outstanding. Gunther's performance wasn't outstanding, but it was a match that told a story. And of course, the story was that his last match, and the big question was who was going to win. And I predicted that Gunther would win because that makes sense. What possible good could having Goldberg win? Because Goldberg's leaving. He's taking off. So, but Goldberg wasn't happy with that. Now, to get him to do what he did, I think they had to pay him handsomely.
Do you think he wants to go out on top? Do you think is that your?
Do I think?
Do you think he wants to win? Do you think he wants to win? Because he complains. He doesn't complain about that in this. He complains about other things surrounding the match.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in just a second. So I don't think he wanted to be on the losing end, but he lost in such a way that he didn't get pinned. He didn't get really beat. He just kind of passed out from the sleeper, which was actually, I think, the best way to go out. But yet, instead of him being gracious on his way out, he got pissed off with a bunch of people. And I'll tell you exactly what I thought of Goldberg. Goldberg got over not because of his great wrestling ability. Yes, you agree with that?
Yeah, intensity and
that's it. And he didn't get over because of his great matches, right? He got over. Why? Because they put him over less than 2 minutes almost every time he was on TV. So the people got to expecting Goldberg to beat his opponent within 5 minutes anyway. He wasn't noted for long matches, but that takes a lot of booking skill to arrange a match like that, and that's why he got over. But yet he doesn't see it that way. He thought about what I have added to the wrestling business. Now I guarantee you, there's probably 10 or maybe more, 20 guys out there with a big jacked up body that could have done the same thing. Go in there and probably better talkers, probably better adapted to wrestling than what Goldberg was. But instead of him saying, I appreciate my time in wrestling, I appreciate all the fans, he wanted to be pissed off. And he was pissed off because of, I guess, his go home speech was interrupted, and he was gonna make a big deal after that. Now, I don't know, I've talked to people, and I think you said this, James. What do you think he was paid?
Oh, I would argue. I think you said 500 to 750. That's what you said. I said I bet he got paid. I bet he got paid 1,000,000 plus. I bet he got paid Saudi Arabia payoff money.
Okay. And I think you're probably closer to it than what I am. But even the figure I brought up to me was outrageous. 500 to $750,000 for a period of work for what lasted less than what 14 minutes, and that counts probably walking to the ring. I would do it. Would you do that for that type of money? Yes, I would. But I wouldn't get up and just be a complete, and I think Goldberg was actually, I'll call him this. I don't know him anyway. If he ever runs across me, he can just beat the hell out of me. I just think he's just an asshole for doing that. What he did, he made a lot of money, and it was for his kid. His kid was there, and but he didn't show any appreciation for the people who made him, the company that made him, the fans that made him. I don't care if it was the worst example in the world of a wrestling match, at least thank the people that were responsible for putting you in a position to where they would even come to you and want you to do a retirement match. You know, he lasted 1 year in football, 1 year in pro football.
Is that it?
That's it. He got hurt.
Okay.
And I did a little research on him. He was found in a gym, and I don't know if he owned the gym or he was working at the gym. He was found by Lex Luger and Sting, and I guess he got to talking to them or they got to talking to him. I think it was more him talking to them about getting into wrestling, and they encouraged him to get in, and then he got into wrestling school, and I don't know how long he was in school. They didn't teach him anything really. It was Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. You remember him?
I do remember him. Would it be fair to say he's one of the worst trainers in wrestling history? Because he seems to, he seems to run off more people than. I mean, I said this probably last week. He's run off more people probably who had some sort of wrestling quality by this old school take the money and try and run them off in the first day kind of thing. But the thing, in corporate WCW in the 90s, and they're treating him like Hiro Matsuda breaking Hulk Hogan's leg in the first 5 seconds to see if he'll come back. And it's like, in fact, we also had the thing on Stevie's show last week where we were talking about Bill DeMott, Hugh Morris, and all the stuff that he allegedly did to people, including, whatever comments and overrunning people and threatening people and ignoring people or whatever else it might be. But there's only 2 dozen people who came out against him.
Ironically, you bring up Bill DeMott. That was Goldberg's first opponent in WCW.
First televised opponent, yeah, specifically.
And that was his first televised match. And the people, I think he was on the second hour, but way deep into the program, they put him over. They just wanted tape on him, I guess. And this was my friend Kevin Sullivan's idea.
Mhm.
Now, what would he have been? Now, let's just put this together. What would Goldberg have been if he had gone out there and actually they wanted him to do some like a move or something? He did have one move. He had a leg hold that looked fairly decent, but he beat DeMott, and the fans were like, "Well, we didn't expect this because it looked like a jobber match." Is what it looked like, and he ends up beating DeMott. So now they have tape on him. Now, on the second show, I'm sure they would have brought him back out there and re-shown the match with DeMott the week before. So now this guy he's an up-and-comer, so let's get behind it. And when they got behind him, they really, really pushed him hard. So, but I'm saying you could actually taken. Hell, I could go out there and get over if they put me over in 4 minutes. After a while, nobody expects it. Boom, small package, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 0. Who would have thought? But yeah, but if I had done, I had the career that Goldberg had, and he had a great career in wrestling, but it was brought on by the way they handled him, the way they booked him, and he never had long interviews. He never had anything. It was just simple stuff. And so they ended up getting him over because of his body, and he played pro football.
I'm going to give you a couple of things he said on the Ariel Helwani show. So he obviously complained straight away about how he had like a 10-minute speech prepared with all his friends in the ring. And they cut him off after either 20, 30, or 28 seconds, depending on which bit of the interview. It's the same interview, and he says the same thing, different things every time. But he says, they cut me off in frigging 20 seconds with a microphone in my hand. I got 2 weeks before I can really spill the beans and make my feelings known about the entire rundown from inception of the idea to its delivery, but I don't know what he's going to,
Let me ask you,
dig me about.
why 2 weeks?
It's probably because the check needs to clear, I imagine. Something like that, anyway. It was a little less to be desired. I'm not going to he says, I'm not going to complain, because he does complain a lot. But then he says, to be able to perform a 12 to 13-minute match, what felt like 115 minutes, it was a great opportunity, and Gunther is an unbelievable guy who does put over Gunther hugely in this. But I want to just, I'm going to skip something else out there, and I'm going to go back to it. But he talks about, I can't find it where it is on the damn thing. He talks about basically being mistreated. There's something else prior to the match that we'll talk about in a minute, but he says, would WWE have done that to The Undertaker? Would they have done that to John Cena? I was like, well, okay, one, they're giving John Cena an entire year to do a retirement thing. The Undertaker didn't have any kind of retirement thing whatsoever. So the two weird examples, but what's important to remember there is that both The Undertaker and John Cena had 25-year plus careers in WWE. Goldberg had a 1-year career in WWE, and then some main events from 2016 to 2022 or thereabouts, just, coming in for one match things where WWE did so good by him that they just straight away put him in the main event, straight away put titles on him, straight away put him in, Saudi Arabia for $1-2 million payoffs per show. But I think the word that I used on the Stevie show, because that was on a Wednesday and this interview was Tuesday afternoon, was that, man, does Goldberg just come across as ungrateful. It's almost like WWE still make money from him, probably paid him really handsomely, gave him the main event of Saturday night's main event. Who knows if he wanted to win or lose? I don't know. But it's like most wrestlers don't get anything like that. And also, he's not as well tenured as a Ric Flair or a Shawn Michaels, an Undertaker, or John Cena, or whatever.
And Goldberg didn't break in like Cena broke in. Cena went to OVW for a year or 2 years, and he had to be up there in the minor leagues all this time and learning. And Vince McMahon still didn't see anything in him until I forgot. I was reading something happened.
They were going to fire him. They were going to fire him.
That's right.
Until John Cena started doing the rapping thing on a Halloween episode of SmackDown. And then they thought, oh, damn, he's got personality. We'll keep him.
Yeah, then the light went on. Okay, we got something with him now. And The Undertaker, he went through Memphis. He went through Texas. Then I think he went Texas first, Memphis. He went to South Africa one time and came back. Then he came back to Memphis. And then I forgot I think Sid got hurt in working down there in Atlanta, and Cornette called me and said, do you have a big guy that we can put with Spivey for the skyscrapers? And I told him about Mark, because Mark's about 6'9", maybe a little taller, I don't know. And I told him about him, and he went down there. And Vince got a good look at him. And sometimes I've heard that Vince will envision a guy and what he can do with him long before he gets there. But I would say the athlete, but between Undertaker and Goldberg is about 5-1. I think Mark is about 5 times the athlete that Goldberg. Goldberg is and was. Now Goldberg was great position he played. He played in the line. I think he's a linebacker or he was a lineman. But Mark played basketball, football. He played baseball. So he was a well-conditioned athlete and very, very for a guy 6'9", very well conditioned and balanced. See, balance is the basis of almost everything. Balance is the basis of a happy life. You got to have balance in your life. You can't be over here working your ass off and then not getting any sleep over here. You got to balance that out. And the same thing in physical preparation and working out in the gym.
One more thing that Goldberg was saying is that I would have loved for them, being WWE, to announce it in January, as in announce the matchup, and had a build up to it and do something like that. Then I thought was maybe worthy of my career. Let's just say they chose to do it with 3 weeks' notice. It is what it is. It's part of the package. It's part of the meal you get dealt. And I would be remiss in thinking I thought the meal would be different. But shame on me for thinking it would be different. Let's just say I'm pissed off with the way I went out. I put so much into it. I don't feel as though the effort was reciprocated to put a stamp on what I've accomplished. Again, I'm not going to say that I'm not ecstatic about the opportunity I got. But, you know, I was a WCW guy, and I don't know. I think it could have been done a little bit differently. Now, yeah, okay, it's true that it could have been a lot differently, but he was also injured all in January. Didn't even know if he was going to make it in the ring then. So how could he announce a match?
Well, he's almost saying, I don't want to knock this, but he goes and knocks it and slams it. And I don't want to come off as unappreciative, but I am appreciative. Wait a minute, why are you saying all this other stuff and then coming back almost with something that's 100% different than what you said initially? I don't get it. I think he has a bad temper anyway, and it got the best of him. But he made a lot of money for a short amount of work, and I think he went out, and nobody's going to ever remember that match other than it was Goldberg's retirement match. And he didn't embarrass himself, so I don't know what his big problem was.
Well, you said I'm not saying.
I actually really liked the finish, creative finish.
He said at the end, I'm not saying it was done on purpose. This is about the speech being cut off again by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying that it wasn't prepared for on purpose. That's all. Once again, I found it. They wouldn't do that to Taker, right? I don't think so. They wouldn't do that to Cena. So there you go. And here we go. And here's the quote. Like I said, I'm not here to bitch and moan because I don't do that. And I'm not complaining by any stretch of the imagination.
It said, I don't piss and moan, but I don't do that. But let me just say this. And then he goes and pisses and moans.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, could it have been done better? Yes, but you're one of the few people who, got a huge payoff and a build up to a retirement. I mean, the actual thing is that they sort of booked it because they wanted to have something strong to go against AEW All In, which is why they only had 3 weeks build as well. So, all politics.
What was your viewership for this?
Saturday night's main event. I don't know the exact viewership because my internet doesn't work very well, but it was down from the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
Amazingly. So I don't know if they had more competition or what. I'm not a ratings person really, but it was down.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we move on, or have you anything more to say?
We've wasted enough time on it. Goldberg is exactly what he is. He's Goldberg. So,
Buff Bagwell. So I've got tons and tons and tons of information here about it, but I sent you the Buff Bagwell video that was on Maven Huffman's channel now. I know Maven to a point, I guess, and his business partner, and heard the story that I'm not going to recount, by the way, about them going there and seeing Buff before he had his leg amputated and after he had his leg amputated. So you watched the entire video. What did you get out of the video? And then we'll talk about what led to
this is really
crash as well.
Well, let me say I think Maven did a great job. I really do. He went on location to Buff's house, and he was getting ready for the surgery to amputate his right leg.
Yeah,
right leg.
yeah.
He went in there and he was talking to Buff, and quite naturally, he's concerned about his surgery, and they're going to document the amputation of his leg, and I don't think they actually got anything of the actual surgery. But if you think about it and put yourself in Buff's position, and I'm gonna go back and forth here with Buff, that's a big deal. Anytime you get something amputated, I don't care if it's a finger or or a toe or something, it's still, they're gonna cut a part of your body off and you'll never have it again.
I'm going to give you a story. I'm sorry to interrupt, Dutch. My dad is missing one half of the finger. He had it amputated. He was in a factory accident in the 70s. And he went through a deep depression. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was an accident too.
Yeah, he was his wedding ring finger. And he was in so I'm told, a deep depression for a long time after that.
Wow.
So that's a finger, not a leg.
Yep. Well, back to the interviewing Buff, and he's concerned about losing his right leg. I would be. I think anybody would be. But I first met Buff about in the early 2000s. At the very first TNA taping, I think we were in Huntsville, Alabama. And I've met him since then on a few shows. But he was okay then, except he was drinking then and he was taking dope. He was taking the drugs. And anybody that can tell you, if you hang around with people who are drinking a lot or taking drugs, they're ill-tempered, they're rude, they're mean-talking, they're hard to get along with. And Buff, that night, he had a match, and I'm watching him get out of the ring, and something wasn't right. And I says, because he wasn't even talking right in the back. It was like he didn't even want to be there. And I'm saying, brother, I didn't say anything to him. But I was thinking, brother, if you didn't want to be here because that's the way you're acting, why'd you come? So I knew something was. I could tell that he was on a downward spiral right then. I didn't think it would take 20 years for something to happen to put him in this shape. But I have sympathy for him. But I really don't have empathy for him. There's a difference. And I actually had to look it up. I have sympathy for him that he's going through it, his family's going through it. I really have sympathy for him as a person. But for how he got there, I don't have any empathy. And empathy is like putting yourself in their place. And I can't really do that. Because no good comes from drinking uncontrollably. No good comes from taking drugs to where you're passing out behind the wheel of a car. And I'm sorry it happened, but it did. And when he hit something on the side of the road, like a rest area or something on I-80.
I think he said it was like a rest room behind a mall or something like that he plowed into. If you want, I have the report here I can give you if you're interested, or does it really matter ultimately?
It doesn't matter because he passed out at the wheel. And he's lucky he didn't kill somebody. But if he'd have killed somebody, he may still have his leg because he'd have went to prison for 10 years. And that's the same thing. And I hate to bring this up, but Tammy Fitch, she was drinking and taking drugs and finally hit a car and killed a guy. I mean, and let this be a lesson to anybody that's listening to this. Guys, if you're drinking, don't. I mean, I don't mind you drinking a little bit, but don't get behind the wheel of a car. You grow up from little babies hearing, don't drink and drive. Don't do it. And if you're taking drugs, don't take drugs till you pass out. I mean, I cannot tell you what to do. You're in control of your own life. But if it gets that out of control, you're going to mess up the rest of your life and possibly somebody else's, and may end up in prison or even worse, dead.
I think that's sort of where I struggle with this a bit, and I agree with you. You know, sympathy but not empathy, in the sense of he had been almost a career of drink driving, getting arrested and DUIs and that kind of thing from 2000. I can't remember if it was 2002 or 2005. Once again, I'm sorry, I don't have the internet to show it. But this happened in 2020, and after this accident, he was arrested once again for a DUI in 2021, I believe, as well.
Let me ask you this. In 2020, what was he? I'm sure he had to go to court for this. What was he sentenced to, or what? What happened out of that?
Oh, I'm gonna be hopelessly uninformed at the moment. Normally, I'd have all this written on a format, you know, have everything, you know, ready for you to say, but I can just give you what it was that happened. According to investigators, a black 2013 Chevrolet Tahoe was traveling west on Cumberland Boulevard. This is in Cobb County, Georgia. Big Boss Man's hometown, I believe. Chevrolet Tahoe collided with the center median and metal fence in the median before continuing west across the eastbound lanes. Now, he said in the Maven video he was drinking the night before. This is in the morning, and I'm sorry, this was in the afternoon. I'm sorry, it's 5:18 p.m. And he said he'd done a couple of Xanax that morning, and then he went and drove. And now I sort of always think that, well, you've been caught so many times. How many times have you been in this state or close to this state where obviously impaired to drive?
Absolutely.
Probably 100 times more. And there are parallels with Tammy Sitch here.
That's why I don't have empathy with him. Empathy is putting yourself in his place. I cannot imagine me drinking to where I'm passing out or I'm not alert. I mean, I don't drink anymore. And I didn't like the feeling he gave me. And taking Xanax, I've never taken Xanax. I don't take a lot of drugs, never have. But that's why I cannot have any empathy with Buff. I'm sorry it happened to him. I hope he's okay. And you know what's left out of this too also is Diamond Dallas Page helped him a lot.
Yes.
He went down there to Atlanta with Diamond Dallas, and Diamond was going to help train him, and he was actually getting better. But I hope he is better, and I don't know what kind of device he will have to take up I guess they can do anything now in surgery. They can attach something to his bottom leg. I've seen people actually, long distance runners with those things on the bottom of their legs, and they're running. So we'll see what happens to him. But this is something that you can say I saw coming a long, long time ago. I didn't know what, but I knew it wouldn't end well.
Lance Storm replied to something that Buff said. I think Buff had suggested that he wanted to wrestle again. And I would recommend that. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that for a 58-year-old who had two legs in good health.
No.
I wouldn't recommend it for someone in not very good health in 58 years old with one leg now. And I'll tell you, when you see the surgery photos, they're all over the internet and of course on Maven's channel. That cut was high as well. I thought it'd be just above the knee. It seemed to be like another 8 inches further, like halfway up this.
It's above the knee.
Yes.
It's above the knee. And not only, who'd you say that Lance who said he didn't recommend
Lance Storm. So what he said when he heard that Buff wanted to get back in the ring eventually is something to the effect of just relax, concentrate on being a good person and staying clean and stay out of the ring.
Live your life, and because I think some people in wrestling are so involved in it and so wrapped up in it, their life is so wrapped up in it, they can't get away from it. You know, I couldn't recommend somebody even buying a ticket to see him get back in the ring again. Why? That's like a freak show. It really is. And if he goes in and something happens, and I don't know, he can do what he wants to do, but I wouldn't even want to see a video of it at all.
What do you think? Because I guess Buff was filming something for a podcast or YouTube channel that he has. And also he, invited Maven over to record pre and post surgery. You almost respect the the grift grind kind of thing where I say, well, man, I'm going to lose my leg, but hey, I might as well try and get some business out. I kind of like try and get some business out of it. Try and, I almost respect that as far as, hey, this could be the worst thing in my life, but content's content, baby. Let's film it. Would
Well,
you do
I
that?
will say that it was well produced. Maven does a great job in producing his videos, but in watching that, it looked like they were preparing something else to sell to a network or to put on DVD or I don't know, something. But it was well produced and it's interesting to watch, even though it is a little bit, how do you say macabre? Macabre?
Macabre, yes.
Okay. It was a little bit eerie and a little bit weird, but still interesting. So, but I wish him well. I really do.
Going to add one more thing. Marty Jannetty. Now, I thought that he had his foot amputated because he, I guess parallels with Buff and Tammy Sitch, just decades of not looking after themselves in one way or another that had led to his ankle being horribly messed up. And no matter how many surgeries, Buff had 30 surgeries on his knee over the course of 5 years to try and correct the problem.
That
And
is
the reason why
mind-blowing.
he went for amputation
That is mind blowing.
is mine. But I,
30
I can't,
surgeries.
especially because, yeah, if someone's a drug addict as well, and like the anesthesia that you have to pump into your body and like calculate for, drug resistance and stuff, that's really dangerous. 30 times. It's crazy.
That is
Uh, Marty. So Marty's basically resisting amputation of his ankle for mental health reasons, quite frankly. I mean, Buffers are basically at the end of the road. They gave him practically no other option than to do this, whereas Marty just said, he's still fighting. I'm going to give you the quote. I've been right there with him being buff, but I didn't know they were telling him he might need amputation. The thing is with mine, his ankle, this is Marty's, they've been telling me because I've been fighting the sepsis for I don't know how long now, 3 years. They had told me the first time one of the options for my ankles, because sepsis got all in it, was to amputate. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. And we fought and fought and fought and fought. Then recently it flared up again. And they had told me again, well, if you get it amputated, you won't have to go through this for years. It's like, it's a heck of a decision to have to be presented with. It's like you can either go through dozens of surgeries and it probably won't work, or even worse, you can have an appendage chopped off.
My first hospitalization last year was because of sepsis. And I had never even heard of that prior to 3 years before last year. I said, I don't know, it just is some kind of infection. They didn't tell me that you can die within 48 hours with sepsis if it's not attended to. And even when the doctor was going to treat it, he told me, he says, you have a 50-50 chance of beating this. And because I was so out of my head, I didn't even really realize what he was actually saying. I would just say, well, I've had tougher odds or some stupid saying. And then for the next week, I totally cannot remember at all.
There's nothing to mess with, is there?
Oh, it's not fun, but I did come out of it.
Right, so we're going to move on to more wrestling-related stuff now. CM Punk almost came back a couple of years earlier for WWE around 2018, 2019. So he was appearing on some podcast for Barstool Sports, and Punk detailed a hilarious clandestine meeting he had with Vince McMahon and Triple H that nearly led to his return. So I'm going to give you some quotes. I think the Twitter and the internet perception is I tried to go back to WWE and they didn't want me. So I went and did the Fox show WWE Backstage. That's not what happened at all. I did find, I had a hilarious clandestine meeting in the Borgata in Atlantic City. Is Borgata, I'm assuming that's a hotel, Dutch, the Borgata?
I guess. I don't know. Hey, was this when
That's McMahon and Triple H. I don't even know now.
was this when he was filmed in the parking lot with the cousins of the Samoans, and then he went in to talk to Vince. They told him to leave. I think it was in.
No. That's when he was with AEW. That was a few years later. That was a different thing.
Well, this is
Right.
this is when he's with the AEW, right? When did he go to AEW? 21?
2021 or 22, yeah.
Okay.
So Punk continues, it's just because Vince McMahon started and I had agents, they were telling me, hey, they want to talk to you. And I was like, whatever, I'm not interested. And then Vince just started calling me. He was like, hey, I'm eliminating the middleman. Like, we got it. And I was just like, oh, this is insane. And it just so happened that, like, well, I'll be here. All right, we can get there. He's just blah, blah, blah. So we had a meeting. This is what Punk says. And we had a handshake agreement. And then Vince McMahon ghosted me.
Ghosted.
Why? Yeah, completely went off the map and just never replied to Punk. So why would he have a handshake agreement? Then Vince just go,
That's weird.
forget it.
That doesn't sound like Vince at all.
Huh?
Doesn't sound like him. No.
What would Vince's typical replies be then? Would he just get the deal done and?
No, yeah, he did. If he had shaken Punk's hand, I think he'd get right back to him right away within the next week anyway.
So, I mean, what do you think about the whole Punk thing with, I mean, he went to AEW. This is 4 years or 5 years after he was released or left, whatever you want to call it. And there were lawsuits and, you know, sent on his wedding day and all that kind of thing. And there's a lot of bitter feelings. But, you know, 4 or 5 years later, Punk was happy to go to WWE. And the reason was he just said, I was very much just like, yeah, okay, just pay me. Punk said, I took some stuff personally. Years have gone by. Like, all right, I'm over it. Recognize that it's a business. Like, if you don't want to take it personally, just pay me.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
Well, I was there. I've told this before on the show. I was there the day he quit, and he walked out. But he quit over not having the main event at WrestleMania. That's what he was pissed off about. I don't care if I have the main event or not. Just pay me what the main event would get. Because they take in enough money to pay these guys almost. And he knows what a WrestleMania payoff is. The main event payoff. He knows that, even though he wasn't in the main event, but he had to be getting close to it. So I don't know. But if Vince shook on it, Vince usually was good on his word. And I think when he shook hands with Punk, it should have been a done deal. And why it didn't happen, I don't know. Unless he had pushback from inside the office, from inside his.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. Do you think Triple H could have gone back afterwards and said, listen, we can't deal with this guy, or, you know?
Yep. He could have been instrumental in it. Bruce Pritchard could have been instrumental in it. Jim Ross could have been instrumental in it. Anybody that was in the inner circle of Vince could have all gotten into his ear and said, you know, you might need to think twice about bringing Punk back because we had a problem with him the last time here.
Yeah, I find it interesting that there was a handshake agreement and then nothing. So,
excuse me. Sorry.
I find that interesting. There's a handshake agreement and then absolutely nothing after that, because you know there must have been a huge amount of pushback. Because Vince is always, I mean, he's usually the one at fault. Let's be honest here. But as acrimonious a relationship he's had with everyone from Ultimate Warrior to Bruno Sammartino, they always come back.
Yep.
That's the power of money, I guess.
That's one thing you said, oh, he'll never work there again. Listen, he'll never work there again until they need him. That's how wrestling works. I've seen guys walk out and say, I'll never work for that SOB again. And then the promoter, the owner said, he'll never work here again, that MFer or whatever. Let a year go by and business drops off. All of a sudden the phone rings in the promoter's office. Hello? Yes, who is this? It's Punk. Punk, Vince, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? What's going on? He said, well, yeah, I was thinking, you know, maybe I need another, you know, location to apply my trade. Can I use you? Hell yeah, I can use you, blah, blah, blah. See, the beef is never even brought up. Most of the time, I'd say, unless you stabbed him or something. Because he's thinking about, hey, business has got to go. I don't care if I don't like the guy. If he can make money, let's make money. That's the purpose of the game. And I've seen that happen, I don't know, 50 times.
Moving on. I think we addressed this last week, but we need to address it again, is because Pat McAfee, so he's been absent from WWE programming recently. It's been speculated that he's burnt out or whatever else it could have been. McAfee himself addressed this in quite a bit of detail, actually. So I'm going to give you some of the quotes. So, and when the guest asked if he'd hit a wall, whatever that was, McAfee admitted he did, and he got real tired. And then he talked about going nonstop since August 2024, when he had a trip to Dublin, Ireland, before detailing a more recent sequence where he went from the East Coast for a CONCACAF soccer club, followed by a trip to Paris Island, South Carolina, followed by a trip to LA for Money in the Bank. So here's the quote. I could just feel it. I'm like, oh my God, my brain is not operating right now. I'd talked to others that maybe experienced mental exhaustion before whenever they've had it. I've talked to them and I've been like, I'm staring down what you went through here. I knew this moment was coming. I knew it was going to happen at some point, and it happens to people. So I talked to the people about it happening and what they went through as Money in the Bank was happening. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I've finally hit it. So basically, he's hit the wall. He says that Nick Khan was very understanding. Once again, he says Raw was an honor to be a part of, but I stopped going to Monday Night Raw, so that took away 2 planes and a 2-hour sleep night a week away from the schedule. And it was like, stack a couple of weeks, I feel like a human again. Part of the confidence he had in taking a break was that with WWE, the show moves on. And he said he had the ability to not feel absolutely terrible for having to take a step back because he was tired. And if he does return, it won't be for a while because ESPN's college football game day is on. Coverage begins late August. And he said, I will always love WWE and I miss it, but I didn't think I would have made it. I was eyeing football season around the corner and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive this thing. Briefly about Pat and mental exhaustion. Did you ever suffer that in WWE where you just zombified because you were traveling so much?
Oh, yeah. Well, not so much mental exhaustion. It was physical exhausting. Not necessarily the in-ring work, but the traveling. See, sometimes you could, but I also felt that before the WCW days or the WWE days. I felt that before too, because there were some territories you could go to, you were just on the road all the time. But you, sometimes 7 days a week. I was in Mid-South for Bill White down and around Louisiana, Mississippi, part of Texas or wherever. But you was on the road 7 days a week, and sometimes on Sunday was a double header where you'd do a show at 3 o'clock, then you do another one at 8 o'clock and drive between them and then have to drive 400 miles unless you want to stay over in a motel. Forget a hotel. You couldn't afford a hotel. But we would stop at Indian Creek Motel. And sometimes you'd only stop there for 4 or 5 hours and then you had to get up and go. And that was when I felt the burn. You get out the next day, you walk into the building, you're exhausted walking in. And Bill was a strict disciplinarian. He wanted you there an hour before the show, regardless. He doesn't give a crap whether you had a flat tire or whether you got tired. Or he wanted you there and he didn't want to be pressed for time and putting the show out. I understand that. But yet he put that ahead of the safety of his talent. Oh yeah, I've been burnt out like that. But what Pat McAfee was doing, he was doing a show. Then he was doing Raw. He didn't do SmackDown, did he? Or sometimes?
No. I think he occasionally would do like a big show, but no, he was doing Raw.
Yeah, and yeah, I know exactly what he means by burnout. He was just cooked, completely cooked.
thing is, I fully appreciate this because, I've got my own thing going on. I think we're roughly the same age. You've got a child about the same age as well. It's tough, man. I mean, he's obviously got far more higher pay and more responsibility, and he's traveling more than me as well. So that's it. I find it tough. And he's, actually he's under a lot more pressure because there's a lot more people watching him. And
Yeah, I don't know how he did it during football season, college football season. I don't know how he did it then, because he was on set then doing the game or whatever he did, and then he had to go and do a pay-per-view. I don't think he did the pay-per-views on the same weekend he did his college football games. But it's a lot of work. But he was making a lot of money. So, but what's more important, making a lot of money or keeping your health?
yeah, exactly. I've got a question for you, Dutch, right? So back in the territory days, you working 6, 7 days a week. Did you know of any of your compatriots, any of the wrestlers, who would do all of these dates constantly, but also had like a side hustle or a side business at home, and they were running that as well?
Not really. It was wrestling or, let's take Abdullah the Butcher. He had a restaurant later on, but he was making his money when he could make his money. And you had about 5 or 6 guys who would travel the country other than Flair as the champion. And you'd have Flair flying all over the place and to Japan and back and forth. Abdullah the Butcher was doing it, just the big shows. Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, the Funks, and that was your team. If you wanted to bring in somebody, that would be the guys you would look for, because they would make them and they would stay a month or do your big show for like a month, and you wouldn't see them again for like 6, 8, 9 months.
We are going to move on. Now, this is something we've covered a couple of times before, and it is Real American Freestyles. So the amateur wrestling deal with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. One thing before we get into actually what I'm going to say is Eric Bischoff, once again, was on Ariel Helwani's show. Seems to be covering that show quite a lot. And for whatever reason, Ariel, I'm quite sure I'm right in saying this, didn't ask how Hulk Hogan was once. It's like no one's seen him for 2 months. But like, yeah, there's no mention of like, where Hulk Hogan is. Anyway, the story is Real American Freestyle.
You have no information on Hulk Hogan,
other than what his wife has posted, saying that he's in and out of hospital due to neck surgery, etc. But no one's seen him in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other person who's saying anything is Bubba the Love Sponge, of all people, saying that he's on death's door. You struggle to find a less credible source, quite frankly, knowing their history together. Anyway. So, Real American Freestyle has got a television streaming deal of sorts. Have you heard about this?
Yes, I've heard about it. I like what you said. They have a television streaming deal of sorts, which might mean or maybe they don't have it. Do they have it?
They've got a streaming deal, but it's not with any of the big hitters or even the medium hitters. It is with Fox Nation, which has a subscriber base of somewhere between 2 and 2.5 million people, which on the face of it sounds, wow, that's a huge amount of people, where it really isn't. It's way less than 1%. I think it's like less than 1% of Americans, or at least maybe even American households, I don't know, or around 1% of American households. And the problem here is that this is a news streaming thing, nothing to do with sports whatsoever, but this is how they're going to be disseminating Real American Freestyle. And it just seems to me, it's like they managed to sign, as far as I can tell, quite a few big names from the world of amateur wrestling to participate, but nothing else is coming together. They've got their first big show next month. They booked an NBA arena, and they've sold less than 650 tickets. I'm sorry, they've distributed less than 650 tickets. And it just seems that they're just doing everything wrong. And I hope it succeeds, but they just seem to be doing everything wrong with this.
Well, I think I said it's going to be a really tough haul. to get this to work, because amateur wrestling is boring as hell, to tell you the truth. And you may have one person out of that whole bunch who's kind of interesting, but that's about it. See, pro wrestling, you want all your performers, all your talent to be interesting in a way that, people could say, I don't like this guy, I don't like that guy. These guys are amateurs, so unless they do something with them to make the fan base not like them and pay to buy a ticket to see him get beat, I don't see it going at all. I don't care what sponsors he has. I don't care what kind of network he's on. I don't care what kind of push that they have before it starts. It's going to be a tough haul. It really is. So I'm interested in see how it's going to do, though.
Yeah, I am as well. I don't understand why they would, because I can't imagine Fox Nation are paying very much for the rights to this. And I was thinking, would it not just be better if you just wanted to get it out there? Just put it on YouTube for free, man. It's like, barely anyone knows it exists, right? So in the amateur wrestling circles, practically no one's talking about it. In mixed martial arts circles, practically no one's talking about this. In pro wrestling circles, it's known a bit because it's Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. But there's not very much crossover between pro wrestling fans and amateur wrestling fans. I don't think anyway. So now you've got a product that's streaming on a not very much downloaded news channel, and it's real amateur wrestling, hosted, and the faces of it are by pro wrestlers, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. It's like I hate to say this, but like Eric and Hogan are two of the worst people you could ever get to front a project like this, because anybody who doesn't read up on it will think, oh, it's just fake wrestling. Why would I be interested? And all the people who like pro wrestling know it isn't pro wrestling, so they won't check it out.
See, I don't know anything about amateur wrestling. I know about amateur fighting. I know a little bit about that, because you don't have to have any training to do that. But amateur wrestling, I can't even tell you when the season is for amateur wrestling. I think it's during basketball season, is what I think. But still, what I wait for every year is the amateur championships in Oklahoma or wherever they have it. I wait for that every year, and I can't tell you when they have it, but I wait for it. And they get very little coverage. They get very little coverage too. Unless some guys went out there and each won 5 times in a row, it gets a 0 on the sports pages. 0. And there's a reason for that, because it's boring as hell.
One more thing that's of interest is that Hulk Hogan and I can't remember the guy, because once again my internet's terrible, or wasn't able to write a format. But the guy who Hulk Hogan partnered with to create Real American Beer is being sued by another beer company who claimed this is the guy who used to work for another beer company, and that beer company is claiming that he stole the Real American Beer idea and then went with Hulk Hogan. So now he's being sued. Real American Freestyle, once again, is on a streaming service that practically nobody watches, and nobody watches for sport. Doesn't have any other sports. It's like, at this point, I just think you might as well just shove it on YouTube. Hope it gets enough views that someone like CBS Sport, Fox Sport, even ESPN, whoever it might be, thinks, well, there could be some promise in this.
Well, I don't know who would buy it anyway. I mean, it doesn't jump out at you as like, oh, if we carry this on the network, oh, we'll be covered up with subscriptions and we'll be covered up with people on pay-per-views. It's not happening. If it's live and they've sold 600 tickets in a 12 or 14,000 seat arena, it'll look like a fire drill. Somebody walked in the building and went, fire, and everybody leaves. You won't even be able to see the people in the building. So again, I wish them luck, but I think this is a project that's ill-conceived in reality, unless they can sell it, and that'll only last a year.
We have to talk about AJ Francis, the former top dollar.
Yeah,
he's now in TNA. And there were a couple of major botches on the latest TNA pay-per-view, but this one was one that was sent to me quite a few times. and I don't know if it was sent to you as well. It was AJ Francis falling off a ladder. Now, normally we play it, but once again, we haven't got internet. I don't have to set up to play it live for Dutch. But Dutch saw it, and tell us what you saw, man.
Okay, you got two ladders specifically lined up outside the ring, and you got two guys on the ladder going up to get, I guess, the belts, one or two belts, and two guys are on the floor and they push the ladder. Now, one guy took the ladder well because he landed flat on the ladder, bent the ladder, didn't hurt him. AJ Francis, I don't know what he was thinking, but he landed feet first, and one of the rungs in the ladder came right up into his crotch. It was almost a forgive the language, but a deballing of a man on TV. I bet he was really sore the next day. And if he's married, now he's got a reason for his wife. Now, why aren't you interested, honey? And he said, "Oh, I don't know, just a feeling, I guess." But I tell you, when I saw that, it kind of hurt me just to see it. So if you want to see it, you can just go look. AJ Francis, demolishes a ladder between his legs. The rungs come up right between his legs, and the men will know what I'm talking about. It's not a enticing scene.
It was worrying me. So he probably fell like 15 feet to the floor as well. But he landed. What do you think? It was just like a total brain fart, where instead of landing on his back, because that's intimidating enough, that he ended up just like, well, I could just land on my legs and blow my knees out, and then split me in half. And
well, how could he blow it if he'd have landed flat? And he spreads it out. I guess he's okay. That still is a hell of a bump on its own. But I think he freaked out. I don't think he wanted to take it, but I didn't think he had the experience to say, I don't want to take it. I'm afraid. Which I had no trouble saying. By the way, I said, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna rip my testicles off, And that's always been a good reason for me to avoid something if it was going to rip off a part of my body that I would need later on. But I don't think I think his pride wouldn't allow him to say that, so he took it wrong, and he's lucky. Did he get hurt? Did any kind of report come out of that?
oh, I did have one somewhere, and apparently he's fine. I think he's pretty much fine. He just got away with it. But that man, that could have affected the outcome of future AJ Francis's.
It could.
Down the years.
But he took it anyway, so I admire that. I'm sure he didn't want to take it. See, I've never been a friend. I've never been a friend of heights. I just didn't want it. That's why I would never, they put me in a scaffold match. You couldn't almost dynamite me off that ladder. I had to off that scaffold. But I took it, and I said, well, I only got one more to go. I had to do 3 that week. So
they were all different scaffolds, weren't they? You didn't travel the scaffold round with you, did you? Did you just have to rig it up however you could figure it out in the arena?
I did. Listen, this is back in the days where it was just engineered haphazardly. You put 2 ladders in the ring, and you ran another ladder across and put them on top of the ladder, and they kind of secured that down a little bit, but it was rickety at best. So, but I got up there, and I got to Evansville, and the ladder in Memphis was about 15 feet high, which was fairly impressive. When we got to Louisville, it was about 10 feet high. Then we got to Evansville, which is the lower of the towns. It was like you could walk up to the ladder and your head would be, it's like 6 feet. So it looked rinky dink to the fans, but still you were 6 feet above the ring, but it didn't look dangerous, is what it was.
Maybe you were taking the bump, so I presume.
Oh, yeah, I took the bump. Of course. I had to take the bump.
I probably answered this at the time, but how do you take a bump? Do you sort of go like half feet first, then land on your side, or
Yeah, well, that's what I took feet off first. He would stomp the hands and stomp the head, and I was hanging on. Then he was stomping the fingers, and finally, you just turn loose and hope for the best. See, Cornette did that and messed his knee up for the rest of his life. He did that in Atlanta, and Cornette is deathly afraid of heights. But I'll say one thing for him. He took the bump and down he went, but he remembered it for the rest of his life. The fans remembered it about 15 seconds. Jimmy realized that for the rest of his life what he had done, and it hurt him.
We're going to move on. Jesse Ventura seems to have been taken off commentary on Saturday night's main event. So once again, the same episode with Goldberg battling Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jesse Ventura, I suspect, was maybe going to do commentary for it, but every single time there's some commentary for Saturday night's main event, he seems to have just been going slowly more insane, to the point where I think it was like Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, and he was just going on about like the rules of the cage and whatever. He's just making stuff. He was making stuff up completely on the fly, and was completely wrong with what he was saying. I mean, he's got a great voice and everything, but he seems to have just. I think they've given up on Jesse. He was at the beginning hyping up the show, then we never saw him again.
Well, his voice is associated with the Saturday night main event and Raw. He has a unique voice, but and I didn't hear the show, but I heard that he blasted how that when Damian Priest exited the cage, and he said he had never heard of somebody winning the cage like that.
Despite the fact that he's commentated on matches in WWE, WWF where that's happened.
I don't know. But I think, Jesse's had and I like Jesse, he's had a hard on for wrestling since the time he was there because he wanted to unionize all the wrestlers. And that is something that Vince McMahon was not going to have. So when they canned him, almost, if Vince had still been there, I guarantee you Jesse Ventura would have never set foot inside another studio or another arena where Vince McMahon was. And he hated Jesse. Jesse hated him. But it is what it is. So I think they may have severed ties with Jesse. And I think that was almost a team decision. They say they haven't. That's what they're saying. But they might use him again, but I don't know. If they don't, the reason.
Do you think they're fulfilling the contract, basically? Do you think they're fulfilling the contract to just get him on TV and then...
They may pay him just to stay home and just be done with him.
Yeah, because, I mean, they always say, well, Jesse's uncontrollable and on commentary, you never know what he's going to say. But, I mean, there's a good version of that, and then there's the slightly worse version of that where it's actually just somebody rambling because they haven't watched the product in 30 years.
How old is Jesse?
I think he's 74, so almost the same age as you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Really don't.
So next up, and this is maybe some better news. So you remember a little fella called Travis Scott?
Yes.
Who wandered out to the Elimination Chamber and busted Cody Rhodes' eardrum. And then he was at WrestleMania 41, and then for some reason how could everyone think The Rock was going to come out? And then instead The Rock never came out and is in fact Travis Scott, who somehow ended up leading Cody Rhodes to losing the WWE Championship to John Cena. Anyway, so it was always geared up that Travis Scott would be in WWE in and out as a celebrity guest, to the point that they were training him to be a pro wrestler. Anyway, the idea was...
Whose idea was that?
A stupid person's idea in a suit looking at, like, Instagram followers, I think. I think that's about it. You would think that was a good idea anyway. Who could treat it like you couldn't, like a toddler couldn't be intimidated by Travis Scott.
No. Now, if you take his counterpart, the country music guy, Jelly Roll, I can see him doing something. But Travis Scott, not a chance.
So, the WWE, and I'll read the whole thing then from Inside the Ropes. WWE's creative writing team had a pitch for John Cena, Travis Scott, and Logan Paul to face Cody Rhodes and the Usos at WWE Money in the Bank. But that obviously did not happen, as Cody and Jey Uso defeated Cena and Paul in the main event. Then reports began to emerge this summer about how Travis Scott's training was not going as well as hoped, with one source noting that the 34-year-old was a slow learner. Furthermore, Logan Paul noted on a recent podcast that he'd heard talk of Travis Scott being fickle with his training in the ring. So now there's an increased rumor and speculation on Scott's future with WWE. While not confirmed, it's believed by some that Travis Scott will never wrestle a match for WWE due to the slow start. There's more to add to this. But can you believe that WWE were even taking it seriously, that they were going to have Travis in the ring and have, Cody sell and whatnot? I mean, he's sort of like, somehow he's like a small version of Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, but I think Jimmy Hart at least was a wrestling fan, and I guess Travis Scott is too. But can he put that effort outside the ring, inside the ring? And I don't think he can. I think it's a wasted cause. And I can see that maybe if you got him in a ring and see what he can do, well, he may adapt to it. But then again, he may be just completely foreign to him, and he can't put it together. And I don't think he has the dedication to actually put his body through that training.
I think you're absolutely right. The Wrestling Observer labeled Travis Scott a personal client of Ari Emanuel, who was basically the TKO biggest of bigwigs, Endeavor CEO and CEO chairman of TKO. It was noted that people have tried to accommodate Travis Scott in his WWE journey due to the relationship with Emanuel, but the project just has not worked out for various reasons. And a source responded when asked why Scott's in-ring debut has not materialized. He said this: Travis Scott doesn't like to commit to anything, which is kind of a problem, really, if you're going to, be a pro wrestler. He goes half in and tries other projects at the same time. And since he's a personal client of Ari, everyone tried to accommodate until it just became too much to deal with. So there you go. So basically, he was in with the head honcho of TKO, given preferential treatment, and blew it anyway.
Well, he just not everybody's made for, hey, I couldn't be a rapper. I don't know if you could be a rapper, but I don't think I could even learn how to be a rapper either. But in being a rapper, you don't have to take body slams and turnbuckles and arm drags and slams and suplexes. You don't have to take all that stuff. And he may not either, but at some point you'd have to bump him some way. And that's a lot different than trying to learn how to rap. I think I could learn how to rap better than what he could learn how to wrestle. I guarantee it.
Rapping's easy. You just copy words and say them. I mean, it's got for old school hip hop fans. I used to know words to quite a number of the Foo Schnickens speed raps as well. So there you go. No, damn, I just get on karaoke, pissed as a fart, drunk as a skunk, and I'd still nail Dr. Dre or whatever it is. Easy.
Seriously, could you do it?
Yeah, easy.
Well,
the internet connection will hold it up now.
You know what? I'd like to see Goldberg rap. I would buy tickets to Goldberg rap. Yes, I would.
Because you mentioned Jelly Roll. Do you know what's funny is that you said Jelly Roll, and I went, that can't be his name, can it? You must have got it wrong. And then, and it is Jelly Roll. It's just that stupid of a name. But I still can't believe it. Like, that's the one he picked.
But let me tell you about Jelly. Oh, I told you about him last week, I think. He's been in prison. He's been all this. He's been a drug addict. He's been all that stuff. Now he's cleaned his act up. And now he actually does pretty decent music.
Yeah, he turns up to the Performance Center every day as well. So he's actually someone who is all in. on this, and that's why he'll be, I'm sure, living out his dream at SummerSlam, and that's why Travis Scott, professes to be such a huge wrestling fan, but actually doesn't stick to it. So, and plus, Jelly Roll's got some size to him, at least, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's not going to fall down the shower drain. Right then, next up on this list that I've lost already, Brock Lesnar. He is on a banned list. A latest update has dropped on Brock Lesnar's WWE status. So last year, after details about Vince McMahon's sexual assault and trafficking lawsuit filed by former WWE employee Janelle Grant emerged, which we haven't really heard too much into at the moment. We want some more news, some more interesting news on that at the moment. TKO made sure to quietly cut all ties with Brock Lesnar. As we all know, he was going to come back at like Royal Rumble 2024 or 3 or whichever it was, and it keeps getting pushed back. Anyway, nearly a 2-year absence from the promotion. WWE shot none of his merchandise is on, and Paul Heyman recently teased major hints about Brock Lesnar's return. However, in a recent interview on the Mighty podcast with Demetrius Johnson, Daniel Cormier, who UFC former heavyweight and light heavyweight champion, opened up on Lesnar's WWE status. Here's what he said. Brock is on the banned list right now. Brock got into so much trouble. You know what Brock did? I ain't telling you on air what Brock did, but Brock is in so much trouble. Then Cormier further opened up on what was going on about the highly anticipated fight between him and Brock Lesnar. Do you remember this when Brock Lesnar just stormed the cage after a Cormier win? So Brock played us, bro. Brock came with the idea. He always has an open door because he's such a big star. I was on a Brock Lesnar card at UFC 200. I fought Anderson Silva, sold 1.4 million pay-per-views. Brock actually came, and WWE paid him more to stay. So essentially, Brock was renegotiating his WWE contract, and he went to a UFC show, inserted himself in the cage after the main event, just to get the buzz going around him. Then WWE paid him loads more to re-sign him. So he's not an idiot by any stretch of the imagination.
Actually pretty smart. Okay, I'm going to throw a match at you.
Okay.
What about Brock Lesnar versus Gunther? That might have some legs.
Do you think that Gunther is putting on a bit of weight? And do you think Gunther should put on a bit of weight?
Well, he's tall. He used to weigh over 300, didn't he? But that was like...
He was a big boy at one point.
He looked fat then. But when he got in shape... But I think Gunther and Brock Lesnar has a little bit of a box office appeal to it. I don't know if it has.
I think so. Definitely.
I think they're going to start talking about that. And remember, fans, you heard it here first. Give it about a year.
Well,
then they can start.
Do you think Daniel Cormier is just speculating?
Well, I'm speculating too. So let's speculate together. But
Brock's currently on a banned list. He's not turned up in a long time, obviously due to the Janelle Grant situation. But he was apparently the situation was that he was basically promised Janelle Grant for the evening, and he was too drunk to perform, so nothing actually happened. Mm-hmm. Knowing that, do you think WWE will ever forgive him?
When there's money involved, I don't know what kind of blowback they would get off that, though. I think Brock Lesnar, he didn't do anything. He may have been promised Janelle Grant by Vince, but Janelle Grant, did she say that they had that in plan for her? Did Vince tell her that?
I don't know.
Entertain Brock Lesnar tonight?
I think possibly, yes. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But then that is what led to, and this is in Janelle Grant's lawsuits, is that Brock Lesnar was too drunk and he had to be carried out of the restaurant or whatever it was, and basically never consummated whatever this is all according to Janelle Grant's lawsuit. And then, Brock had to be carried out and went home and, never did anything, never touched her now. But then Vince decided to role play that night with Janelle Grant And according to the lawsuit, that's all alleged, Vince absolutely smashed Janelle Grant's head in while being with her, if we're going to call it, use a tasteful euphemism. And then afterwards, as he was, like bumping and bruising Janelle Grant all over the place, he said, man, I'm really effing up with you tonight, aren't I? And then, just beat her up more, I guess. I mean, that's what Janelle Grant alleged.
What did he do to her? Punched her?
I don't know what he did, but just basically threw her around, was way too rough with her, and then was just imitating Brock Lesnar throughout what could be described as overly energetic lovemaking by Vince.
Vince is crazy.
Vince is crazy. That's for sure.
I think he was, during that time, he was literally insane. Or I think he was too powerful for his own good. He had too much money and thought he could do anything.
We'll talk about a couple more things, then we're going to shut down the show. One thing I want to ask you is, you watched SmackDown last Friday, and more specifically, you watched Cody Rhodes and John Cena. And you rewatched that again this morning as well. How do you think it went? Because I think some people are reading into this that Cody Rhodes is going to turn heel.
Well, sometimes they do that to set the people on a different path. They see how it is accepted. They're going to have to do a hell of a turn on Cody to get them to accept him as a heel. Because they accepted him almost as a heel against John Cena. The crowd was torn, but that was Cena's 20-year run as a good guy, as a babyface. They weren't used to, and believe me, I think John Cena did a great job. I think he enjoyed it. He enjoyed getting a reaction out of the fans. I think Cody would too. But this is beyond either Cena or Cody getting what they would like to do. We're trying to find something that the fans want to pay to watch them doing. Now, if they tell a story with Cody, I think they could possibly do it, but they'd have to take their time with it and slowly. But that's what we found out about WWE lately, is they don't mind spending time to get something going, and they can pick it right at the right moment to pick the fruit off the tree and shoot the angle. So, and I think that if they have a good chance with Cody, but I would watch that, because they have a hell of a champion in Cody, or the fans think so. So instead of just turning him just for the hell of turning him, I don't know who they would get him to turn on.
What would be his motivation if he did?
I have no idea. They got to come up with that story. What motivation they would have that the fans could actually buy into.
You don't think they're going to try and do like a double turn at SummerSlam, do you? Because I just sort of think, well, with John Cena, he's going to be leaving it in December. They have to have a redemption arc with John. And now there's only 5 months, if that, left to do that with John, so he leaves on a high. What do you do?
Well, his whole story up to this point was with Cody. That's the most memorable one. And they could try to do a double turn, but those are tricky. You better watch. And it's up to Triple H to take all these ideas that creative could give him. And I don't have one for him right now. But maybe if they went down and sit down and watched a bunch of tapes, and maybe something could pop up. But that is interesting. So, and that would be actually, if they could do that, that would probably be a great creative feat, and I'd be interested in seeing it myself.
Have you ever booked a double turn in your booking career?
No, I never booked a double turn. No. When was the last double turn? They did it perfect, though. I forgot what it was.
Well, the most famous one is Steve Austin and Bret Hart.
Yep.
There have been a couple since, but I think that's the archetypal gold standard one. And then people romanticize that because Steve Austin was actually pretty much booed until May. And, it took another 6 weeks, 8 weeks for him to be fully cemented as a babyface. So it didn't just happen that night, kind of thing. Mark Henry, I think, or a couple of people have suggested that The Rock might return at SummerSlam. Now, I don't know where they're getting this other than it's just like, a fanciful idea that maybe The Rock can make some sense out of this mess. But, so far the John Cena thing has sort of been a bit lukewarm because we don't know why he's a bad guy. And then Cody Rhodes. I don't know why so many fans seem to just want Cody Rhodes as a bad guy. Is it just because he always gives off heelish vibes anyway? Or if he did want their voices heard? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the Rock, I think he's over more now than when he was. I don't think that not showing up at Cody's win and Cody's loss to Cena, he is still hot. And I think this may be the best thing to have him pop in about, I don't know, 2 months every year and just run off his power for the rest of the year. How old is The Rock?
53, I think.
Yeah, but he's still in great shape. So if he really trained, I think he could almost turn in a Rock style match. So The Rock coming back with Cena, and he could actually turn with Cena, with Cody against Cena. Because, they're scratching each other's back and all this, and they got this deal beforehand that Cena knows nothing about. That might work if they plan that right.
Yeah, I think that'd be a very good idea as well, because then it gives both motivation, a good motivation as well. Can we talk about just once again for SmackDown, the setup was Cody's in the ring first. It's a contract signing thing. It's probably one of the most overdone tropes, overdone segments in wrestling of the past 20 years. Cody Rhodes signs immediately. John Cena sits at the table and says, "I'm sorry, everybody, but I'm actually not going to be at SummerSlam. I've got to film a movie for Netflix. Netflix knows about this, but anyway, I'm very sorry, everybody. I've got to go." Then Cody attacks him, puts him through a table, and then with John Cena's limp arm, signs the contract for John Cena. Dutch, can you explain what the American legal system would make of this?
Oh, they'd rip it apart. They'd rip that apart. I mean, any lawyer, you don't even have to be a lawyer. Said, "Oh, that's not legit. That's not this. It's not that." But that's part of wrestling. You pick it apart. But that's So I didn't want to. Let me correct you. I didn't want SmackDown last week.
No.
So they didn't do that, did they?
On Friday, yeah.
They did it Friday. Well, I was thinking
Friday just come in.
Listen, Sportskeeda on my other podcast, they changed me from one show to the other, which actually took out me watching SmackDown. So last Friday night, I took a well-deserved Friday night off. So I got to get used to Friday nights now. I'm not going to be sitting there at 10 or 11 o'clock on Friday night doing the podcast. I enjoy doing it. But watching the show, sometimes I'll be going, "God, please get through this."
They switched you up.
3 hours is too much to watch a wrestling show.
They switched you up just as SmackDown went to 2 hours again.
Yeah. Then during the hard part, they used me, and then all of a sudden, they took me off of it.
We're going to talk about one more thing, and then I'm going to shut the show down. And this is just a very brief thing that I want to make mention of. Adam Copeland, the former Edge, AEW star Adam Copeland. Cope, he's changed his name again. He's no longer Cope. He's now Adam Copeland.
Big deal. I don't get it. What the hell? He's Adam. He's known by so many names now. Cope, Adam Copeland. What was the other name he had?
Sexton Hardcastle.
Yeah, it's stupid. But changing your name, I don't. I don't get it. I don't think it's going to help him draw any more people. He is what he is.
Funny because he's got a T-shirt that says "Legend," but it's got like an extra D in it for Edge in the middle. Like, he so wants to be Edge,
but they can't call him Edge.
No.
That's the WWE name for him.
Like, what if your name was changed? You went to a new company and you said, "I'm not going to be Dutch Mantell anymore. I want you to all call me Mount."
Well, see, the name is not copyrighted, but could you copyright a name if you grandfathered it in?
I think you can trademark a name. I mean, no one. I mean, just presuming you just own it because you've had it for so long.
Yeah, dirty. Oh, it was the dirty part. Dirty Dom stole my name. Of course, I stole the name too. Dirty Dick Murdoch and Dirty Dick Slater
and Dutch Mantell you stole, or someone, or who was it? Buddy Welch came.
Well, I don't think there was a big rush to steal Dutch Mantell, but the dirty part fit right in. There was 2 D's there: Dirty Dutch, Dirty Dick Slater. So I stole it too. So I can't bitch and moan about it.
That's funny. Both your nickname and your wrestling name are both taken from one of the rest, but separate ones.
Well, I was looking for another name and I couldn't come up with. And I think
I never asked you this. Who came up with Chris Gallagher? Because you were Chris Gallagher very briefly when you were working for Nick Goulas, weren't you? Why?
I did for the hell of it. I just liked the name Gallagher, I guess. Then there was a magician named Gallagher.
I went to go see Oasis on the weekend as well. So that's Liam and Noel Gallagher. They'd be the most famous Gallaghers everywhere but America.
Yep. I just took the name. I thought it was a good name. I just took it for a while. I didn't do any harm to it because I didn't help it. And I was Dutch Bass one time.
You were?
I was Ron Bass's brother or bastard brother or something. But I was thinking, that's Dutch Bass. That didn't really sound right for some reason.
Where was Don Bass at this point?
He was over there around Memphis, and me and the other Ron Bass, we were in somewhere down around Pensacola, and they wanted, since the Bass name was over pretty strong down there, they said, till I got there. I asked Ron one day, I said, "I thought you said this Bass thing was over." He said, "Well, it used to be. Not now." But anyway, I talked to Ron Bass's son several years ago. And after Ron had passed away.
So your nephew.
And he just called me up and told me that his dad always talked very highly of me and liked me. And I told him, I said, I loved your dad. Great guy. So, but anyway, he got a divorce, I think, when that boy was young. But he always used to talk about his son all the time. So, but I appreciated the call from your son, though. I can't remember his name now.
To wrap it up, Cope is now Adam Copeland again. There you go. That's the story.
Power to him.
Good. On that note, we're going to end the show. I'm sorry for the internet issues that were plaguing this episode halfway through, but we've got through most of it. I'm sorry the video quality won't be great in the middle, but we're doing our best in very trying circumstances. And it's really trying because I was expecting a call from the internet people from Brisk, who you should never, ever, ever, ever deal with, because they said, "Oh, we'll call you back. We'll send you an engineer today." Well, do you know what? It's nearly 4 p.m. and no call back.
Yep. See, that's what you get by dealing with them.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to have to delete them from my life.
I thought you were an internet engineer on the side.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm afraid not. No. I don't. Do you know, they even turned up with a cherry picker thing as well to hook it up to the phone, the telegraph pole outside. So I don't even have a long pair of ladders, Dutch.
Well, good luck.
Now I'll do my best. Right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back on Sunday for Ask Dutch Anything in our crappy internet because we record it straight after this. Unfortunately, so we will do our best. We will get through it. And the email, once again, is questionsfordutch@gmail.com. If you want to email that show, you want to get your question asked, then that's the email you use, and the best ones make it in every single week. Until then, we'll see you on Sunday. Dutch, we the people.
We the people. See you then.